It has been 8 years since the release of the Nintendo Switch, and a successor is finally being released. We are only one day away from receiving more information on the system. In this video, I'm going to give my last minute predictions, and I will make a follow-up video talking about what I got right and what I got wrong. Let's not waste any more time and get into the predictions. The Nintendo Switch 2 presentation will surely reveal new, never-before-seen games. I anticipate that we will see a teaser for a brand new 3D Mario game. There may not be a title given to this game, but we may get a small snippet of gameplay. On the flip side, I don't think we will receive any new information regarding a new Legend of Zelda game. It has been only 2 years since Tears of the Kingdom, and Nintendo probably doesn't have anything to show for a new entry in the Zelda series. At the very least, there might be text on screen that says, "A new entry in the Legend of Zelda series is currently in development for the Nintendo Switch 2. A game that is guaranteed to release alongside the Nintendo Switch 2 is Mario Kart 9. That game was teased in the initial Nintendo Switch 2 teaser, which means that they will show off the game in a more substantial way in the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. A launch game that the Nintendo Switch 2 will most likely have is a variety minigame collection that is intended to show off the capabilities of the new system, much like Wii Sports, Nintendo Land, and 1-2 Switch. Nintendo always releases games such as these on the launch date of a new system, and I see no reason for them to stop with the Switch 2. When it comes to third-party support, I suspect there will be a very strong lineup. The original Nintendo Switch was released after the Wii U, one of Nintendo's most divisive and criticized consoles. Game developers were understandably hesitant to support the Switch because they believed it would be another flop like the Wii U. Of course, we all know how successful the Nintendo Switch is. It is one of Nintendo's highest-selling consoles, and is coming very close to outselling the PlayStation 2, the record holder for the highest-selling console of all time. People love the game variety and the versatility the Nintendo Switch offers. It can be both a handheld or console, and you can seamlessly switch between those two form factors. After seeing how successful the Nintendo Switch came to be, every developer is rushing to get their games on the system. They are even more excited to get their games on the Nintendo Switch 2 because of the increase in technical specs and processing power. I think Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth are very likely to be released on the Nintendo Switch 2. After the low sales of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Final Fantasy XVI, both of which were initially exclusive to the PlayStation 5, Square Enix will be abandoning their exclusivity deal with Sony and will now be releasing all of their games on multiple platforms. Releasing their games on multiple platforms will lead to higher sales and higher revenue. Square Enix and Nintendo have had a very close relationship going back to the 1980s with the NES. Now is a better time than ever to reforge their relationship and support Nintendo's newest console. Elden Ring is another likely candidate for a third-party game to be released on the Switch 2. The game has received excellent reviews, and people will absolutely buy the game again for a chance to play in a portable form factor. According to rumors, Ubisoft will be a major supporter of the Nintendo Switch 2. They plan on porting much of their PS4 and Xbox One era games to the Nintendo Switch 2, such as Watch Dogs, the Assassin's Creed games, and The Division. While this is just a rumor, keep in mind that Ubisoft were strongly supportive of the Nintendo Switch with games such as Rayman Legends, Assassin's Creed 3, Assassin's Creed Black Flag, and Mario plus Rabbids. I can definitely picture Ubisoft continuing to support Nintendo by releasing their past and upcoming games on the Switch 2. A game that has a very strong likelihood of releasing on the Switch 2 is Cyberpunk 2077. Developer CD Projekt Red went the extra mile to completely rewrite the source code for The Witcher 3 from the ground up so that it could be ported to the Nintendo Switch. I can definitely see them doing this a second time for Cyberpunk 2077. It could serve as a great tech showcase, much like how Skyrim and Witcher 3 did for the original Nintendo Switch. Baldur's Gate 3 is yet another game that could come to the Nintendo Switch 2. Baldur's Gate 2 is currently available for the Switch. Almost every developer is going to want to port their latest franchise entries to the Switch 2 because of how successful the Nintendo Switch turned out to be. Developers know that if they port their game to the Switch 2, it will sell. I also think this is the reason Gotham Knights could be ported. The Batman Arkham trilogy is on the Switch, and Rocksteady may want the latest entry in that series to be available on the Switch too. The original Nintendo Switch had two standout features. You could connect the system to a dock and have it be a home console, or you could choose to play it as a handheld. It also had the Joy-Con controllers. These Joy-Cons had a vibration feature called HD Rumble that could simulate certain physical sensations, such as ice being put into a glass of water. The Joy-Cons also had an IR sensor and motion controls. With the Nintendo Switch 2, there will be two new features that are still under wraps. One of these is the mouse functionality. In the trailer for the Nintendo Switch, the Joy-Con controllers can be seen sliding on the black surface. Many people speculated that it could allude to a mouse functionality for the Switch 2 Joy-Con controllers. If this is true, it could allow for PC games to be ported to the Switch 2, such as Civilization and The Sims. It may also allow for a completely new control scheme for first-person shooter games. Another feature that the Switch 2 will have is the mysterious C button. The purpose of this button is unknown, but it will most likely be revealed at the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. The primary rumor about the functionality of this button is that it could serve as an option for second screen gameplay. For example, let's say that you are playing the newly released Mario Kart 9. If you want to play with someone else, you could press the C button and the screen could be projected to the second Nintendo Switch console. That way, each of you could play Mario Kart 9 on your own screen. Another rumor claims that the C button stands for community. When you press the C button, you will be able to access your friends list, party chat, and voice chat. It's similar to how the PlayStation button works on the PlayStation controllers. Yet another rumor claims that the C button will take you to a social network similar to the Miiverse on the Wii U. The Miiverse was a social media application exclusive to the Wii U console. On the Miiverse, users were able to post images and make discussion posts and reply to other users. It was Nintendo's attempt at making a social media application exclusively for its player base. While it was an admirable attempt, it quickly fell into disarray. Whenever you give people a way to express themselves and communicate to others through digital media, there will always be those who act nefariously to get a rise out of people and provoke a response. That is exactly what happened with Miiverse, which is why it was permanently shut down in 2017. Perhaps this time around, Nintendo has learned their lesson, and they might make a successor to the Miiverse on the Switch 2. I find this highly unlikely. While Miiverse does have its supporters, it was an obvious failure. Whenever Nintendo releases a failed product, they rarely ever release a follow-up to it. There was no Virtual Boy 2, and they abandoned the Wii product line after the lukewarm reception of the Wii U. There is every reason to believe that Nintendo will never make a social networking application ever again. I'm inclined to believe that the C button will be used to share your screen to another Nintendo Switch 2 system. It can serve as an advanced version of the DS Download Play functionality of the Nintendo DS. With the DS Download Play, you can play a multiplayer game with another person without that person having to own the game cartridge. The C button will be very similar. You just press the C button, and the person who wants to play with you will get a notification on their screen saying that they can play the game. Here are the two most important factors someone will consider when deciding to pre-order the Nintendo Switch 2: the price and when it will release. I predict that the Nintendo Switch 2 will have a retail price of $399. Nintendo has a reputation of keeping their prices low and competitive. They rarely ever release a system over the $400 mark, with the exception of limited edition consoles. $400 is a fair price for the Switch 2. It is $100 cheaper than the PS5 and Xbox Series X, and the same price as an entry-level Steam Deck. The Nintendo Switch 2 will be more powerful and have exclusive games that cannot be played on the original Nintendo Switch. I predict that the Switch 2 will release in June. June is 2 months away from April, which is the same length of time between the Nintendo Switch presentation on January 13th, 2017, and the release of the Nintendo Switch on March 3rd, 2017. Nintendo's main goal with the Switch 2 presentation is to show how different the Nintendo Switch 2 is from its predecessor. Everyone knows what features the Nintendo Switch has, and they want to know why they should upgrade to the Switch 2. This presentation will show them reasons to upgrade and purchase a new system in the form of third-party games that can't be played on the original Switch, second screen functionality, and a vastly improved online experience.
Ugh, fine, I guess you are my little PogChamp. Come here.
Wow, those are great, Patrick.
I have a confession to make.
Go sit over there. Pay close attention, Patrick.